Welcome back. Before we get started on chapter three, um, I thought I'd connect with you guys a little bit. Chapter three is a shorter one, so it gives me time to use to give you a little background on the story of the Vampiatis and Vampiro, how it began, um, and kind of an undertone of what the whole thing's about. I don't watch vampire movies. Probably never have. I've probably seen one or two. I didn't watch any of the TV series. Um, and my son Tony, who I think you all know, Anthony, was approached years ago by BuzzFeed to do a video about a date with a vampire. So he dressed up as vampire. They went on a date, and lo and behold, he got 1 million views. He did another one, got another 1 million views, and I was kind of fascinated by it. He goes to the vampire balls in Los Angeles. I actually attended one once. Very interesting. It's fun, really. A lot of music and a lot of good times happening. Anyways, after those videos, he got a call from a production company who wanted to use him in a reality series, which he kind of turned down because he didn't want to be typecast as a reality actor. And that's probably been a good idea because since then he's been in Star Wars, he's been in lots of commercials for Craftsman Tools and Geico, and he's starting up a nice little career for himself. But I digress. When he was telling me about this production studio calling him, I have no idea why an idea snapped in my head about a vampire who was recruited by the CIA. I'm a big reader of fantasy books, Jordan, George Martin. I was a reader, obviously, before they all became series, and I've just got hundreds of fantasy books. And, my idea for Vampiro was more of an adventure as opposed to an evil vampire, blood sucking horror uh, horror book, fantasy. So that's kind of what Vampiro is. It's yeah, they're vampires, so to speak. Their affliction is not really caused. It's more scientific. You'll find out in the next few chapters. But they're good guys. They're not bad guys. And it's a lot of fun. I think it's a lot of fun compared to the other darker images of vampires. And as you get involved with this whole thing, there's 3 books. The second book is a much grander adventure than the first book because this first book kind of lays out the whole concept, and the third book gets out there. I mean, it's I'm not going to give any of it away because I hope you all stay tuned and keep watching and have as much fun with this as I'm having. Um, and a final note here before we get going is you can tell by my reading that this is a difficult thing to record. I had considered making an audiobook out of this myself, and when I started recording the audiobook, there were so many errors. I had to keep going back and back and back, and it took me 10 hours to do like 3 pages and do it perfectly, and I just gave up on it. So as I said way back in one of the first videos I did, is this isn't going to be perfect, but it should be fun. And if I make huge mistakes, I'll just go back and re-record it. But you're going to hear me trip over some commas and some sentences and words, but that's okay. I mean, at least for me, it's okay because this isn't something I'm going to go out there and try to make hundreds of millions of dollars on. This is for us all to have fun, and hopefully somebody big will see it and do something with it. And I hope that happens. So do me a favor, press like, share it all you want, and enjoy chapter 2, which is Yuri Petrov. Right? That's right, Yuri Petrov, our Russian FSB agent. Yuri patiently watched as his associate, Alexei Gurin, picked through a garbage bag on the boat's stern dock. Minutes later, the glass door to the cabin lounge slid open. Got it, Alexei said, smiling. He stepped inside, stepped to the table, and placed a cigarette pack in front of everyone. It's about time. Hopefully, this will satisfy our friends in Moscow. Maybe then they'll move on to something more exciting. Yuri picked up the crumpled paper and sat back in his chair, taking a moment to savor their success. He removed the bubble pack that enclosed the glass data stick. He held the device to the light and peered through it, like a jeweler examining a fine-grade diamond. Yuri Petrov and Giorgio Yakovich sat in the Azimuth Grand 35 lounge, docked at the Cabrillo Beach Yacht Club. The room had a glass table that ran the length of 2 white leather sofas on either side. At the end, facing the back of the yacht, Yuri sat in a black leather swivel chair. Giorgio was on one of the sofas to his right, his legs stretched out. They held a glass of vodka, slowly sipping the clear liquid. Yuri had been on the yacht for the past 8 years, splitting his time between boat's living quarters and his apartment in Santa Monica. He went back and forth depending on the assignment and the weather on that particular day. He loved taking the boat from San Pedro Harbor to the open sea, spending the day on the ocean, and enjoying the peace of mind it brought him. The FSB had treated him well as the head of the West Coast U.S. Bureau. He provided an ample supply of alcohol for his team, plenty of free time to enjoy the weather and Southern California's lifestyle, and a dedicated team of Russian prostitutes for everyone's pleasure. He glanced at Giorgio, his number one, the most productive and loyal agent he had. Giorgio had been with him for 7 years, and he was assigned to the post because of his English was near perfect. Yuri always admired Giorgio's penchant for protecting agents on every job. He had no fear of death or regret for killing, if it meant protecting one of his men. Giorgio never hesitated to pull the trigger. Yuri enjoyed working with him, and they'd become close friends, sharing days at sea and evening dinners after they returned to port. Life was good in America for them, as long as they did their jobs well, which they did. This operation was unique, one he'd never been asked to do. The assignment was simple: gather information from a private corporation. It had nothing to do with the risky subversions he'd planned and executed involving U.S. secrets and traitorous, greedy U.S. citizens. But the motivation was the same as always: money, which made working in America so easy. This project was no different. It was about money and secrets. The only mystery to Yuri was, why this assignment? It seemed like a waste of their talent and resources. Why did Moscow headquarters want formulas from an American scientific company? Was there some threat of disease to the motherland? Was a high-up official sick and needed the brilliant American medical community? Was there a new weapon under development? He thought about the possibilities for some time, because knowing why was always to his advantage. The leverage game was his specialty, even with his people, and leverage was everything in this business, an insurance policy for staying alive. This operation, however, had been locked down, and he repeatedly probed Ivan at the Moscow agency to get more information. But his superiors never had revealed anything. It was beyond top secret, which piqued his curiosity even more. One day he would find out what was happening, hoping that would happen soon. He planned to fly this package to Moscow in a few short days. Congratulations, Colonel. What is next? Giorgio asked. Should we verify that the information is there to be sure? Verify the information? No, I've been explicitly ordered not to access this device. It's eyes only for Ivan. If it's blank or the date is wrong, that's not my concern. I'll be flying to Moscow on Sunday morning to deliver this personally. We can't risk sending it electronically, not with the Americans lurking around every corner. Sergei shrugged, feigning nonchalance. In the meantime, please stick to your routine, keep your heads down, and stay quiet until I return. He rose and walked to the back wall bar that hosted the finest alcohol in the world. He pushed aside 4 bottles on the bottom of the shelf, revealing a cutout section in the wall behind the bar. He tapped one side of the section, and it slid sideways, exposing a safe. He entered the combination, opened it, and deposited the chip inside. He put everything back in place, grabbed the Stoli Elite off the top shelf, and set it on the bar. Both Giorgio and Alexei's eyes lit up. What is next, you ask me? Yuri teased. We drink, of course. He set the glasses on top of the bar, filled them with vodka, and handed one to each of his men. Nostrovia. Yuri held up his glass and then downed the $3,000 vodka. Both men followed suit, and Yuri refilled their glasses. Outstanding work, Giorgio, Yuri continued. Your planning was impeccable, and the execution was flawless. Let's celebrate Saturday night. I think the Rio Bistro is just the place. Sergei will pick you up at 8:30. It's the least I can do before I head home. Thank you, Commander. I am more than ready for the celebration, and thank you for your generosity. Giorgio held up his drink to salute. I still need to pay the American. Should we keep him happy? He seems to be in a good position to bring us more information if Moscow requests it. Yes, of course. I will have the cash for you before I leave. Yuri paused. A man clad in black arrived on the deck outside. His assistant, Sergei Orlov, slid open the door and entered the lounge with a grim look. He stopped at the far end of the table, a camera in his right hand. It seems someone was watching our American friend in the parking lot, Sergei reported. The mood in the room changed instantly. Before Yuri could speak, Giorgio blurted out, Who? What? Yuri suspected that Giorgio didn't trust Sergei and that the men competed with each other. Giorgio sounded defensive when he continued. Why would anyone be watching him? He is no one, just a small broken man of no importance. The operative was a very stunning woman, Sergei's eyes smiled. She saw the American drop the package before heading into the club. She left her car and checked inside his SUV. She shined his flashlight on the interior, then moved to the fence and watched the bag exchange. She left just a few minutes ago. Sergei walked around the sofa and set his camera on the bar. This is the woman. He turned the view window around towards Yuri and pushed the browse button, scanning through several pictures of an attractive woman. Yuri tensed. Agent Sophia Russo. He recognized her from numerous briefings. She's the local CIA. Did she follow him here? No one followed her, man. That I am sure, Sergei retrieved his camera. She was already here. I only noticed her when she left her car and watched the bag exchange on the dock. I wonder how long she's been watching our movements, Yuri was thinking out loud, and no one answered his question. It's not the most exciting assignment, given how little we've been doing these past few months. Our friend Tom must have shown some traits that raised her suspicion when he arrived tonight, or maybe someone tipped her off. He's an amateur, after all. Knowing the CIA, she probably knows everything about him within the next few hours and will question him soon after that. Yuri continued to process the unexpected turn of events. He's had encountered with Sophia Russo in the past, and none of them had ended well. She always found a way to make his assignments more difficult, if not impossible, to complete. Many had to be shut down, costing months, if not years, of time and resources. Russo was one of America's best agents, and he tried to avoid her at all cost. Now, he had to carefully consider his actions for the next few days. With the CIA suspicious of their activities, should he move his trip forward or take more time and let things cool down? One thing was for sure, Tom Gallagher needed silencing. Yuri could not allow him to speak with the CIA, ever. Sergei, this American still in the club? Asked Yuri. As far as I know, he hadn't left when I came aboard a few minutes ago. Gentlemen, it's time to go home. Giorgio, I will see you Saturday night. Yuri turned to Sergei. Sergei, pick me up at 8:45 after you get Giorgio. I will be at my apartment with my bags packed. We need to be on full alert, but we must continue to act normally and show no signs of knowing that the operation may now be compromised. It would send the wrong signal if we panicked. Alexei, it would be a good idea for you to follow our American friend home and see he is in no condition to speak to the CIA in the morning or ever. Please be discreet. We do not need the LAPD involved in this affair. Understood. I will take care of it. Alexei was already heading towards the door. One moment, Sergei said, stopping him before he could leave. Sergei turned to Yuri. Sir, instead of a messy ending to our American traitor, I suggest a poison from our lab that is very effective when it comes into contact with the skin. Anyone who touches it will not live for more than 5 hours. It is untraceable in the blood after that. Agreed. Yuri paused to think, then looked at Alexei. Alexei, please assist Sergei with applying this poison, and make sure you do not touch it. Yuri reached for the bottle of vodka and poured an extra glass and a refill for him and the others. He opened the safe again, removed the data stick, and slid it into his pocket. He raised his glass as his team gathered around him, drinks in hand. Saturday night, then, Yuri said. Nostrovia. They all emptied their glasses. Sergei left the boat with Alexei following. In silence, they walked along the dock toward the parking lot, the wood planks creaking under their feet as they made their way up the ramp. In the parking lot, Sergei turned to Alexei. Here is what you need to do. Sergei took a small stainless steel vial from one of his secret pockets and handed it to Alexei. Within this vial is a powder and a brush attached to the inside of the cap. Be very careful when opening it. The brush turns simultaneously. Then wipe some of the powder from the brush on the door handle of the American's car. He will be in the club for at least another half an hour having dinner. Sergei looked at Alexei to make sure he understood. Be quick about it. Thank you, Sergei. This is much safer than the explosive devices I use. And the results are much better. They both exited the gate at the top of the dock, and Sergei went directly to his car. He watched through the windshield as Alexei approached Tom's car, pulling on the gloves as he walked and stood at the driver's door. He unscrewed the bottle and wiped a generous amount of powder on the handle. That should be more than enough. Sergei reached for the secure cell phone. He'd sent the text message again. V, the information is now in the open, and contact termination is imminent. Let's see what kind of madness that starts, Sergei said gleefully.